XP framework. XP is an agile methodology. So in this video, we will understand how is XP different from other agile methodologies, what are the values of XP, what does XP suggest for a team to work on, what is the focus of XP, and how XP teams need to work closely for one big important reason. In this video, towards the end, I'm going to share you a mind map on the entire XP framework. So stay on and watch this video. You will understand a lot about XP framework, and then you'll be able to work better. And if you're writing some examinations like PMI-ACP examination, you'll be able to score more marks. Let's get started. So XP framework is an agile methodology. So it also follows the agile mindset, the agile principles, and there is a framework that is put up by Ken Back. Okay, so what is the primary focus of XP? The primary focus of XP is improving the way we program, improving the way we code, so that this code can be utilized sometime later. If things become very complex on one piece of code, what is the best way of coding so that we don't run into problems later? That's one of the biggest goal of XP is to, that's why the name suggests extreme programming, the ways to write better programs, how we keep the code clean, how do we address the technical debt, how do we refactor the code, and all these things. The primary focus is to write better code in simple terms for XP. Okay, let's start off with the teams. So what does XP suggest? How should the teams work? So XP says that the teams need to be co-located. This is based on the agile principle that information sharing is done when people are having face-to-face communication. When teams sit together and work, the developers, the testers, the designers, and the coach or tracker, and the XP, if you have called those roles, right? If they're sitting together in one place and working, that's great. If they're going on the customer side, it's like even more wow, awesome, right? So XP suggests that the teams need to be co-located, sit next to each other, and work, right? That's going to give you better results. Now, XP teams are self-organized as any other agile methodology. The goal of agile is to have self-organizing team and have great collaboration. So XP also expects the teammates to be self-organized. They pick up the task and they don't wait for the coach to come and assign the task, or they don't wait for the tracker to come and assign task. If there is task, the developers go and then start working on the task. Okay, as simple as that. So they need to be self-organized. Then XP teams work in an energized work environment. What do you understand by this? When people work in an energized work environment, there is a sustainability. People are not burnt out. People like to work. See, you can stretch for work maybe a 1 week, you work 60 hours, 2 weeks. Then after that, you start thinking, why is this happening every week? Right? We don't work in an unsustainable way of working. XP suggests that work has to be done sustainable, right? In a sustainable way working, right? So that's very important. So one of the agile principles is that the both sponsors, the developers, and the scrum masters and everybody who are working on agile projects, they have to work in a sustainable way. If you're building software, the software should be built in a sustainable way. So that's what this principle is aligned over here. So an energized environment comes when the way you're building the software is sustainable. Okay. Next, very important. XP teams need to be more cohesive. It's like, hey, dude, what's up? Like, so why do we need to have that attitude? Because we are going to do one very important work in XP that is called as paired programming. Two people sitting and working on one piece of code, four eyes looking on the screen and working on one piece of code. Imagine two people going to work and there's no collaboration among them. I can't see him, I can't sit next to him, I can't work with him. If that's the attitude we have, then there's no cohesion. Then even if you come and give them agile or scrum or XP, Kanban, lean, any framework, right? However agile you are, if they don't have the willingness to work with each other, the output is not going to come. We all agree with that, right? So XP advocates cohesiveness among team members, more so because they have to do a concept of a practice called as pair programming. People have to sit and work together and see on the same piece of code. So cohesion has to be there. Next, XP teams need to communicate well. So we'll see in the XP values what are the different times XP teams have to communicate. But yes, as in any other methodologies, like communication is the key. People communicate a lot. In XP, they communicate a lot because that's one of the values also. We'll look into detail when you go to the values in on communication. Next, XP teams need to plan better. So in XP, we have a concept called as quarterly releases, in which we have got weekly iterations. So they plan more for every week. There's a theme for a quarter. People work towards that theme. So that's what it says, that XP teams need to plan better. So these were the things that XP teams have to do so that they get better results and embrace the change and build better code. Okay, more important. So XP teams also have got take faster feedback. Pair programming gives you the fastest feedback. Within seconds you get feedback saying that, okay, that code is not right, that code has to move down, or maybe you're not taking care of the API integration over here, or this code is just writing directly into the memory, it's going to take a lot of space. Immediately the next person is going to give you feedback. So the faster feedback, the faster course correction, and then inspect and adapt and do good things, right? So XP advocates that faster feedback. Pair programming is the fastest way to get feedback on anything that you're doing. Okay, next. XP team calls for a lot of collaboration. So people have to collaborate and then they have to work together. And one of the biggest thing is a pair programming, when people have to collaborate and then do things together. Okay, then it's coming to the same thing. Pair programming is like faster feedback to improve the quality of the code. Two people sitting and working on the same piece of code. XP teams are co-locate. I have already told this. So those were the ways XP teams have to work. Now we look into the 5 values that XP has. XP has got 5 values. Let's try to understand what are these 5 values in detail and how that helps XP programming to embrace more change and improve the quality of code and thereby improving the value of the valuable software they're going to deliver. Okay. Now, next thing. Simplicity. So the first value XP says is simplicity. Keep things simple, keep the code simple, right? So that it can be used in future again, right? It's not about reusing the code. It's a different concept. Like you break down complex code into smaller code. You don't have one unit of code that does like 5 or 6 things. You just one unit of code should be doing just one thing, and that makes it easier. To make complex code in smaller units of code, that's kind of can be used later on in standalone self, right? Unit testing can be done easily, and then refactoring of the code, right? So very, very important. The code that we write should be refactored to ensure that the syntaxes are right, we're following the industry standards, the benchmarks are being followed, the basic vulnerabilities are taken care, the security issues are taken care, right? So there are like sonar reports that run. So the refactoring of the code has to be done. And XP also says that let's dedicate some time in the quarterly release cycle just for refactoring. Maybe every week we'll give like 2 hours. In one of the organization where I was working, we were asked by a director to kind of give at least 3 hours every sprint to just refactor the code. And there were thresholds being kept for the automated builds. If the threshold was not being met, then you have to go and resolve the vulnerabilities and refactor the code, and then you have to deploy it, and you have to get exceptions if people are not doing that. And getting exception from the director is very, very difficult. So we have to refactor when you're developing code, right? Then block time to refactor code, that's called Slack. So we also have got in the quarterly release, we put time for some Slack, maybe doing some simple things on the entire release time so that people are relaxed. The idea is to make people feel relaxed, and also you can use this time to refactor the code. Okay, then that's where all an idea to keep it very simple. Okay, very, very important. Simplicity means you're addressing the technical debt also on the project. All the issues are there, like functionalities are working, but the performance issues or maybe some security issues you want to address that. Those have to be addressed. Then after that, do not build the software until it's in. Very, very important. XP says that simplicity means there is this agile principles, like the we need to maximize the output by building what is needed and avoiding what is not. Okay, simplicity is the art of doing work that is maximizing work that is needed and not what is not needed. Okay, that's simplicity. Okay, so you don't build what is not needed until it's needed. You just don't build it. You just don't keep features ready over there. You just don't make the code very complex. Okay, unless it is not needed, you're not going to build it. That's what this simplicity value says. So these are the 5 points on the simplicity value. Let's go to the next point. Respect. So in XP, like Scrum, you're advocating this value called respect. When people's opinions are respected, the way we are working them, when they give feedback, when they give the ideas are respected, when we're giving them feedback to improve, then there's a way to give feedback. That's very important. So the other people are valued, right? When people are respected and valued, that's the time the collaboration increases. Okay. Then courage. So XP also promotes courage, wherein we say that we will not take on tasks that is like not realistically possible in the release cycle. Next 5 months to be done in like 3 months. That's going to be like going for a task, right? People need to be courageous to go and give this feedback, right? When even in pair programming, when you see the other person is not doing the coding the right way, you have to be courageous to give feedback. Many times people thinking, what would the other person think? Let me not give this feedback. No, no, you must give the feedback. You should be courageous to give the feedback. Next, we have got the value on communication. The value on communication says that communication is very important in XP. So it is achieved by having co-located teams, right? Then there is another concept called osmotic communication. When people are sitting next to each other, they get to know what's happening based on the discussions that other people are having. They get an idea. Something that's relevant to them can also pop up and they can start working on it. That's osmotic communications. That's not like intentionally you want to sit and listen to that. It's not like uh, secretly trying to listen what is this person talking. Or it's like just you're available, you're working there, you get to know something about the same place. Then information radius, like Scrum XP also says, let's use information radius. They've got a Scrum board, they've got a task board, and people see what needs to be done to do in progress done is done. So information radius is there. That also increases the communication. It's again going back to the agile value. Individuals' interactions are valued over more processes and tools, right? So information radius also help increasing the communication. Okay. Next thing is pair programming. So pair programming, yes, you have to talk a lot. You have to talk about how the code is behaving, what needs to be done on the code with the other person. So that also advocates a lot of communication. Finally, avoid interruptions. So by communication, it's not like always we're talking about people, disturbing people. You need to also ensure that you're not disturbing people when they don't need to be disturbed. Okay. So avoiding interruptions. So that's also important. Getting feedback. So this is very, very important. In XP, you get feedback in the fastest way that when you're developing software compared to any other methodology. Let's see what are those. So pair programming, you get frequent feedback in pair programming in seconds. The other developer can give you the feedback within seconds that, okay, this has to be done like this, has to be done like that, or what you're doing is right. Next, unit testing, you get feedbacks in like minutes. You just run a build and see code is working or not, everything is working fine or not. So within minutes, you get feedback. Then customer collaboration. So you tell what's then UA, UAT, give it to them, you get feedback within hours. Stand-up meetings. So every day you can get a feedback. What did we plan to do yesterday? What we plan to do today? Like, are we on the right track? Are we going to miss it? Not? Are we going to meet the weekly target or not? So you have the daily stand-ups that can give you feedback within a day. Acceptance test can give you a feedback in a couple of days. Once it's gone to UAT, customer does it. UAT testing can say it's working fine. Make it ready for production. Demos also, you can have weekly demos and they get feedback. The whole idea of the slide is to tell that in XP you can get so many ways of verifying what you have built, get faster feedback, course correct, make changes, adapt, and then deliver a working software that's valuable. Okay. Then releases, you have got monthly releases. Again, that's also a good way to get feedback. More about frequent verifications. So you can use wireframes to get feedback from the customer. You're integrating code, you see code conflicts, you're merging things in the CI/CD pipeline or in the control version system. You go and see that there are conflicts over there. So you can integrate code, you can resolve the code, you can do continuous integration to get feedback. So many ways of getting feedback in XP and ensuring that you are delivering good software. So 10-minute builds also give you feedback. Spikes are like maybe a week or something. You want to just focus on some architecture that you want to test or POC that you want to build. So spikes are used to get that feedback, right? Once the spike is done, if it's working fine or not, the software that's okay, but the spike is successful because you've got some feedback from it. Okay. So as I told you, the goal of XP is to write better code, build better softwares, and add value to the customer. And the biggest goal is on the programming, write better code. Okay. Then now I want to talk to you about how there are few things that are similar between XP and Scrum, but I also tell you why do we have two different methodologies towards the end. Okay. Let's see. In XP, we have got weekly cycles. Okay. As a part of the themes, as an output demo every week. You've got themes, which is like your sprint goal, okay, which will run for the entire quarter. Then you've got iterative development, okay. Then you've got incremental development. Now, I want to spend some time, couple of minutes on these 2 points, iterative and incremental. You would have heard this time in Agile, it's very iterative, it's very incremental. What is the difference? There is a subtle difference between being iterative and incremental. Iterative is doing 2 or 3 iterations, more than one, doing 2 or 3 iterations or 2 or 3 sprints, and then delivering the working software, a valuable software, at the end of third iteration to customer in production. In incremental, if you're delivering the working software after every increment, after every release, after every sprint or after every iteration, if things are going into production, then you're incrementing software over there. If you take a step back and look, after 3 iterations, when the code goes to production, it is incremented. The software is incremented. That is a subtle difference. Okay. Okay. Like for example, a use case can run for like 3 or 4 sprints to close. Okay. The fourth sprint is where it runs to production. The value addition happens in the fourth sprint. So that's where the increment happens. Okay. So XP also works on increments. User stories are there in XP. Demos are also there. Okay. So those things are very common in XP. And then XP has got 3 or 4 roles. One is the customer, one is the coach, one is the developer, and one is a tracker. Okay, customer is the person who gives you the end user requirements. Coach helps you in working on the XP format. Developers, the people who are going to go do the coding, and tracker is anybody who's tracking that are we meeting the goals that we are, or the themes for the particular sprint, for the particular iteration, weekly cycle, or the 3-month cycle, right? Then, when to use XP? So use XP when they're dynamically changing requirement environments. Okay, when it's very complex, when you want to build a very nice software, when you have got a complex code that needs to be fixed, right? Use XP that time. When you have got small co-located teams, use XP then. Then technology allows for automated unit tests and functional tests. Use XP then. So these are the places when you can use XP. Okay. Then I have showed so many practices. You can use as many as practices from XP. If not all, you can use like 3 or 4. If you're already doing 4 or 5, then try to do a little bit more. It's not mandatory for you to do all of them. If you do all, that's very great. Okay. So this is the mind map I have built over here right now on XP. So I'll just take an highlighter and then probably help you understand this. So we spoke about the XP teams initially, right? So XP teams, what do they do? We spoke about this. 1 second. Okay. So XP teams, we spoke about the teams. So we spoke XP teams are self-organized, they're energized environment because of sustainable working, they're more cohesive because they get frequent feedback, more collaboration, they communicate well, and they plan better. Right. So we covered these things, and more cohesiveness, more feedback, because they want to do pair programming together to improve the quality of the code. Right. So that's why how the XP teams work. The primary focus of the XP team is to build great code so that it is easy to modify and it is easy for them to embrace change. Okay. And then we saw about the XP values. We saw that XP values are like simplicity, communication, feedback, courage, and respect. Courage and respect are 2 values which are common in Scrum also. XP is like Scrum on few practices, like XP has got user stories, XP has got incremental development, iterative development, decomposed work. All these things are available in Scrum as well as in XP. Then XP is a bit different because XP works on quarterly themes, right? And then themes are like store goals in user stories. There are weekly iterations, and there is Slack over here. Slack is the easy work that is kind of mapped to one a particular theme. Finally, you've got roles in XP. Roles of XP are the developer, the tracker, the coach, and the customer. So these are the roles in XP we have. That's the mind map we have on XP. Let's see forward. Let's see about XP practices, just summarizing what we have just spoke about in the previous slides. So we consider the whole team co-located, the planning games for the quarterly. These are small releases where we release. Customer test UATs, their collective code ownership through pair programming. Code standards are maintained by keeping the code simplicity, right? And then after that, we have weekly cycles, quarterly cycles. Slack, I told you, is the easy work that is there, a part of the quarterly release, so that people are a bit relaxed when towards the end and they're not burnt out. They can do this work, right? Not very high priority work, simple work. It will also be addressing the technical debt. Then there are 10-minute builds for the CI/CD integrations, right? Continuous programming, incremental design and development. So these are the practices of XP which we have just spoken about. Now let's see what are the similarities, differences between XP. Okay, let's go ahead. XP. In XP, we have got weekly cycles, themes. This one. Then you've got iterative development, incremental development, user stories and demos, and Slack. In Scrum, on similar note, we have got sprints, 2 week sprints, 3 week sprints, 4 week sprints, you decide. You've got sprint goals similar to your team. Iterative, yes. Incremental, yes. User stories and demos, yes, in Scrum. So why do I have to use two different methodologies? One Scrum, one XP. Let's live with Scrum only. Why do we switch? XP focuses on improving the way we code. Feedback on coding better. Primary focus is coding better to make these softwares better. Okay, we are able to kind of add more things later on once we become more complex. Scrum, on the other hand, is focusing on projects. Are we delivering the working software within the given time frame? Are we meeting so that the customer gets benefit? Are we, the time to market is fast, the go to market time is fast? Right? They're able to beat the competition. Are we able to deliver the software on time? Right? Are there any penalty clauses? Right? Are we going to kind of beat the competition? Right? So all these things. So Scrum focuses more on the projects. XP focus on the way the coding is done for software. Clear? Right. Next. XP roles, they are like 4 roles: customer, coach, developer, tracker. In Scrum, you've got 3 roles: product owner, Scrum master, and the development team. Similarly, XP values, we have got respect, courage, feedback, simplicity, and communication. We saw all this in detail in 5. And Scrum values, I've recorded another video on implementing Scrum values, and you can watch that. But Scrum values are respect, courage, focus, openness, and commitment. Okay, so what is common over here? Respect and courage is common between both Scrum and XP. Okay, so that's it from this video on XP. We looked into this video, we understood how XP things work, what are the different ways XP is different from Scrum, how is XP like Scrum, what are the values in XP, what is the major focus of XP. Thank you for watching my video. This is Arham Faraaz. Please do like, subscribe, and share my video. It helps me make more videos. Thank you all once again. Bye-bye.